On one side, we have the LGBTQ plus community. On the other side, we have African-American comedian Dave Chappelle. And the only person who can sort this out is Australian straight white male Lewis Spears. Welcome to the video. If you've been in the real world for the past 2 weeks, you may have watched Dave Chappelle's comedy special, thought, that's kind of funny, and then moved on with your day. Well, that is disgusting behavior, and I'm not going to stand for it. The internet is absolutely outraged about this disgusting piece of content that has been on Netflix, not you cuties. Dave Chappelle's comedy special is disgusting, and let's talk about it. If you don't know, Dave Chappelle is one of the greatest stand-up comedians to ever grace the stage, and I think it's a blessing that we're all alive to see the man work. That being said, he released his most recent comedy special, The Closer, and it has a giant proportion of a tiny community very upset. If you haven't seen it, Dave Chappelle did what he does best and trashed everyone, really. He trashed his own community, he trashed communities he's not a part of, but one community that did cop it consistently throughout the hour is the LGBTQ plus community, and they are very upset. So upset, in fact, that these are causing headlines all across the world, and by the world, I mean America. No one else really gives a fuck about this, and even then, America doesn't really care. This is really just like a bunch of Americans on Twitter arguing with each other about a comedy special from a guy who doesn't even have a Twitter account. Now, my thoughts on Dave's special was that it was very funny. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was one of the better ones that he's done, and I watched it with 3 other people who also agreed. Now, that's not exactly what I'm here to talk about. If you want to form your opinion on Dave's special, go and watch it for yourself. What I want to talk about is how the media is spinning this to fit their own narratives and suit their own agendas. It's very interesting if we have a look at some of the headlines and articles, and then we take a look at what actually happened. You start to see that everyone is spinning this special to fit their own agenda left and right. Let's look at it. First up, we have all of the headlines saying that Dave's comedy special was hate speech, that he was trashing people, that he was being mean, that he meant the things that he was saying, which I always find crazy to even have the discussion about when the man is a comedian. The dictionary definition of a comedian is a guy who's telling jokes. He's not serious. The man's joking. That's what you're paid to see. Why do we keep having this debate? I don't understand people who assume that just because they didn't like the joke, that means that it's no longer a joke. What they're doing is they're going to a restaurant and ordering a steak, and because it was cooked in a way that might be good for someone else but not them, they look at it and go, well, this isn't a steak anymore because it's not to my taste. Yeah, it's still a steak, you just don't like it. Someone else will. Don't order that again. Don't go there. Then after the release and initial controversy, we had someone who worked at Netflix complain about the special, which is honestly, controversial opinion, maybe, is their right. Like if you're unhappy with a product that the company you're working for is producing, absolutely speak out against it. If the company is unwilling to budge, maybe you need to leave. That's kind of my thoughts. It's like, all right, cool. So you've had your say, and a lot of people agree with you, but most people do not. It's an incredibly successful product. Most people agree that it doesn't cause actual real harm. So maybe you need to find somewhere else to work if you're not okay with a company that produces those things. And then if enough people do that, the company will change. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. Most of the world doesn't agree with you, unfortunately. It's mostly just Twitter who is angry. And as Dave Chappelle says,
I don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
But after this trans employee spoke out, we started seeing these headlines that are incredibly misleading. First up, we have this one from The Verge. Netflix just fired the organizer of the trans employee walkout, not workout, trans workout. That's the Olympics. Now, this headline by The Verge makes it look like Netflix just fired someone for speaking out against a product that they knew was going to be controversial. And if that was the case, this video would be about how that's bullshit. I think that anyone who works for Netflix and anyone who watches Netflix should be able to criticize the things that they make. It's such a big platform, it needs to be held accountable so that, only good, high-quality products that don't harm anyone are released on the platform, like cuties. Because all these people protesting Dave seem to have no problem with that, do they? But this headline, the minute you start reading into it, is not the truth. That's not what happened. I mean, she did get fired, but not because she organized the protest like this headline heavily implies. Once you get halfway into this article, after about 3 paragraphs about how they're trans and black and pregnant and are asking to be anonymous for fear of online harassment, which fair enough, I wouldn't want to be named either, you find out that this person is really suspected of leaking confidential metrics to the press about Dave's special, such as how many views, how many plays the thing got, and also how much Dave Chappelle was paid for the special, which is highly confidential information. And absolutely, if that happened at any business, if you sign an agreement not to leak sensitive insider business info to the fucking press, you're absolutely liable to be fired if you are proven to have done that. In fact, this is what Netflix had to say about the situation. We have let go an employee for sharing confidential, commercially sensitive information outside the company. They said, we understand this employee may have been motivated by disappointment and hurt with Netflix, but maintaining a culture of trust and transparency is core to our company. They've also said that they're absolutely fine with people voicing their public disagreement with the comedy special. So it's absolutely not that, it's leaking sensitive secret data to the press about money, about metrics, which I'm sure that if I was a comedian who had signed a deal with a streaming service, I wouldn't want some random employee who works there, no matter their identity or beliefs, leaking exactly how much I got paid to do that thing. That's absolutely not on. I mean, I don't know the contracts, but this is dangerous for Netflix. If this type of thing happens, I'm sure Dave himself would be liable to sue Netflix for leaking private information about his own business. I mean, what this person has done is they've tweeted, I don't like the McDonald's Big Mac, and then while they were working, they put another employee's head in the deep fryer, got fired, and were like, they fired me because of my tweet. They can't handle criticism. Also, they're sexist. That's not the full story. And the media, for some reason, is completely happy to push this narrative with not even a third of the information to just get outrage clicks, to make people angry, to further stir up this weird culture war that seems to be the only way that these outlets can make money online is by making you angry. And that's why when you see a headline that pisses you off, maybe you should read the full thing and find out what actually happened, just in the same way that if you see a 2-minute clip on Twitter of Dave Chappelle that pisses you off, maybe you should watch the full thing to understand the context behind what he was saying and understand that it's a joke. Another trans employee was also suspended by Netflix, and geez, it's 2 for 2 now. Come on, Netflix, I'm starting to disagree with you. Do you want me to go and sign up to Stan? I'll do it. Just kidding. I would never sign up to Stan. Absolutely not. But this person, Tara Field, was suspended not for tweeting about the comedy special like these headlines are saying. She was suspended because she stormed into a director-level meeting to demand to talk about the Dave Chappelle special. I mean, a suspension is pretty good. You know, if you're storming into a meeting that you're not invited to demand like the guy who's in charge of the accounting to talk about Dave Chappelle, he's like, I don't know, dude, I just figure out how we can avoid tax. That's not my job. My job isn't content. My job is to make sure that we don't contribute in any positive way to the future of our country. Please go away. And now Netflix has just reinstated her with, fair punishment, actually quite a lenient punishment, a temporary suspension. They've reinstated them, and now they're sending out regular emails to all the employees telling them what meetings they are and aren't allowed to attend, which is just great. I really love now that at Netflix it must be someone's job to write incredibly obvious emails like, hey, just so you know, there's a big shareholders meeting on between the CEO of the company and all of our biggest investors. I just wanted to say that janitor is not needed on that Zoom call. But keep in mind, this is not just the left-wing, lefty, liberal media that are doing this to spin the Dave Chappelle special to fit their own narrative. There's also right-wing people that are doing this. For example, Ben Shapiro said this on his show, which I thought was just absolutely insane about Dave Chappelle's comedy specials.
Dave Chappelle has a brand new special on Netflix. And he sort of alternates his specials. He does ones that are kind of woke and then highly praised because they're not as funny, but they're woke by the Rotten Tomatoes crowd. And then he does ones that are actually funny, but politically incorrect.
So what Ben Shapiro is basically saying in that clip is, I like it when Dave Chappelle makes fun of the people that I don't like, but when he makes fun of the people like me, that's not funny. It's like, dude, jokes are jokes. You can't argue against Dave when he jokes about your people and then praise Dave when he jokes about people that you don't like. That's not what comedy is either. Comedy is everybody gets it. Now we're up to the present, right? Where there's just been a massive protest organized outside of the Netflix HQ by Netflix employees. There's been a bunch of other people that have shown up as well. The flyers said there's going to be thousands of people. And look, there were over 100. I wouldn't say thousands, but there were definitely over 100. It's pretty sizable. And the protest was just seemingly crazy. First of all, let me just get it out there right away. If you're protesting about a comedy special, you're a dork. If you're protesting the people protesting the comedy special, you're an even bigger dork. Unless you're just there to make them angry, like this man, Vito. Now, this video has gone really viral online, and I want to pick it apart for a little bit. This guy, Vito, has showed up to this anti-Dave Chappelle protest with a sign that is just there to annoy, which I really like. As someone who thoroughly enjoys annoying people when they're standing up for something stupid that they really think is like fighting for freedom, I really like annoying those people. So this guy is a king. He showed up with a sign that just says, "I like jokes," and Dave Chappelle's funny. Something along the lines of that. And in the video, you will see that I assume Netflix employees, maybe they're not, but they're definitely the protesters. They grab this guy's sign, they destroy it, they rip off the actual sign part of the sign, and then he's left with just a stick. And if we play this slowly, you'll watch that this guy's super peaceful, he's not touching anyone, he's definitely being annoying and being obnoxious, which is, again, fine. You know, he's trying to make a funny video, I assume, right? I've absolutely done that before. But you will see that this guy's pretty shocked by the reaction of these protesters for them, you know, getting really physically violent with him. And you'll see that this guy doesn't really know what to do. And the guy that rips the sign part of his sign off notices that now he's just left with a very long stick. And he starts yelling, "He's got a weapon."
He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon!
And not only does he yell, "He's got a weapon," he also grabs the long end of the stick and lifts it up for Vito, so it looks like Vito is holding it up high like a weapon, and then continues to yell in a crowded public protest, "He's got a weapon, he's got a weapon."
He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon!
Now that is, without sounding too alarmist, literally behavior that can get people killed or seriously hurt. I mean, think about this. If you were at a protest and you had not seen the initial scuffle, maybe you're 5 people back, you hear all these people yelling, you look around and the first thing you see is a bunch of people yelling at this guy with a stick, "He's got a weapon, he's got a weapon," you would quite logically assume that this guy has a weapon and is there to hurt people. That's the type of shit that can make people make a split-second decision that can permanently change that guy's life and theirs. I would say that this dude's very lucky to have left unharmed. That kind of behavior is incredibly strange and hypocritical from people who are trying to save lives, according to them. And if you have a look at the history of America, planting a weapon on someone, yelling that they've got a weapon in public and framing them is the type of shit that literally gets people killed. After this happens, the guy backs off and a bunch of people start getting in his personal space, and to his credit, he backs off, or at least from the videos that I've seen, it looks like he was fairly peaceful. More video may come out. At this point, I've looked for more video. This is all I've managed to see. So if there is more and he was violent, maybe he was. I'm not saying that he was, but it looks like from this video and from a few other clips I've seen, the dude was very intentionally peaceful. He was obnoxious and annoying, but he wasn't instigating violence. And then you have this woman with a tambourine just shaking it in his face and screaming, "Repent, motherfucker! Repent, motherfucker!"
The violence! I don't know why all the hate!
I mean, you guys aren't doing any service to yourselves in regards to not looking like a cult. You know, I mean, that's literally just religious fanatical behavior, screaming "repent, motherfucker" at some other dude for disagreeing with you. I mean, that is literally cult behavior. You're not helping your own argument. And when you see videos like this, and then you read headlines presented by the media, you just have to realize that these guys are just intentionally lying at this point. If you look at footage like that, and then you write something like this, comedian and videographer Vito screams profanities as he engages with peaceful protesters begging him to leave. I don't know about you, but forcing a guy's property to the ground, destroying it, putting it back in his hand so it looks dangerous, and then screaming, "He's got a weapon," and then screaming, "Repent, motherfucker," doesn't look like a peaceful request to please leave us alone. Plus, if you can believe Vito, of course, he says these peaceful protesters broke my shit and tackled my buddy to the concrete. He says it's a load of bullshit, and now in every single article that's being published about this guy, he looks like an instigator of violence who is there to, like, I don't know, promote hate, when the guy was Clearly they're there to promote being annoying, which I think we can all agree can be fucking hilarious. But that unfortunately is the world that we live in today, where no matter what is actually happening, left wing, right wing, and who other wing publications will just say whatever they want to say about what happened, and if they're wrong, you can't do anything about it. Often when they're wrong, they're actually rewarded for being wrong, because you click on these articles, you get angry, you share them, and you go, these people are wrong. They don't even care about being wrong. They care about you sharing that article so they can get more clicks on their fucking Toyota ads. The world's broken. Truth doesn't exist. So just enjoy comedy. Have a laugh. Laugh at the world and worry about all of this shit in a different lifetime. We don't need to care about what Twitter is angry about, because again, I'm playing it again, just like the man Dave Chappelle says.
I don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
And that's where I'm gonna leave this video, guys. 99% of people who watched this special either enjoyed it or they didn't, and then they moved on, all right? This isn't a big deal. There's bigger problems, okay? I'm Lewis Spears. Thanks for watching. Please get a hobby.
Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt. Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt. Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt. Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt.